The first, and often clearest indicator of a lack of interest, is a consistent and palpable breakdown in communication. It's in the digital silence, the echoing void where enthusiasm should be. When someone is genuinely intrigued and invested in you, the conversation becomes a priority, not an obligation. They find moments in their day to connect because the interaction itself is a source of energy and anticipation. A quick message during a lunch break, a reply in the evening to share about their day, or even a simple thinking of you, are the hallmarks of an engaged mind and a curious heart. This isn't about being glued to the phone. It's about the quality and consistency of engagement when they are free to communicate. The contrast becomes stark when interest is waning. You may find yourself facing a pattern of delayed responses, where replies take hours or even days, and when they do arrive, they are often accompanied by a generic excuse like, "Sorry, I've been so busy," while life's demands are very real. It's essential to recognize a pattern versus a one-off occurrence. The modern reality is that our phones are within arm's reach most of the day. Everyone is busy, but everyone also has moments of pause, waiting for a coffee, standing in line, riding the train. In those moments, a person's priorities are revealed. The person who is interested will use those slivers of time to connect with you. The person who isn't will use them for other things, and you will feel the difference. Beyond the timing, the texture of the messages themselves is a critical clue. Engaged conversations have a rhythm. They are a volley. You ask a question, she answers and reciprocates with one of her own. You share a story, and she responds with a related thought or emotion. This creates a sense of forward momentum and mutual discovery. However, when her replies are consistently short, devoid of questions, lack any enthusiasm, think lol, okay, cool, or just an emoji, the conversation flatlines. You are carrying the entire weight of the interaction, performing linguistic acrobatics to keep it alive, while she offers only the bare minimum required to not be outright rude. This lack of effort is a form of communication in itself. It whispers, "You are not a priority." This dynamic creates a subtle but powerful shift in the emotional energy of the relationship. You begin to feel like an option, an afterthought. Someone she gets to when there's nothing more pressing vying for her attention. This can trigger a cycle of anxiety and self-doubt, where you might find yourself overanalyzing your own messages or making excuses for her behavior. It is crucial at this stage to trust the evidence rather than the hope. The hope says, maybe she's just stressed. The evidence says, she is not making an effort to connect. Respecting yourself means acknowledging this disconnect and refusing to beg for the attention you deserve. It means understanding that your time and emotional energy are valuable commodities, and they should be invested in connections that are reciprocal. When you feel yourself consistently placed on the back burner, it is not a cue to try harder. It is the clearest sign to gracefully pull back and redirect your focus toward those who are genuinely excited to hear from you. The process, making plans, acts as a powerful litmus test for interest. Moving beyond words into the realm of concrete action, when a woman is genuinely interested, the idea of spending time with you is met with anticipation and a proactive spirit. Your invitation isn't seen as an intrusion, but as a welcome opportunity. The conversation about plans is collaborative and forward-moving. She will not only agree enthusiastically, but will often contribute ideas, suggesting specific activities or alternative times if the original doesn't work. This eagerness is the hallmark of someone who values your presence and sees a future interaction as something to be actively built, not passively accepted. The planning stage itself becomes a pleasant prelude to the actual date. It's filled with shared excitement. The contrast emerges sharply when interest is lacking. Here, you encounter the realm of vagueness and non-committal behavior, a landscape of maybes and will sees. When you propose getting together, the response is often ambiguous and lacks any decisive energy. Phrases like "that might work, I'll let you know," or "maybe text me that day" become commonplace. This vagueness is a defense mechanism. It keeps you in holding pattern without requiring her to fully invest or explicitly reject you. It's a way of maintaining a connection on her terms, one that requires minimal effort from her while keeping you as a potential option should nothing better arise. you are effectively placed on the bench. Available to be called upon if needed, but not part of the starting lineup, this dynamic becomes particularly draining. When you find yourself cast in the role of the sole architect of the relationship's social calendar, you are the one consistently brainstorming ideas, sending the initiating texts, and following up on tentative plans. A relationship, even in its earliest stages, requires mutual effort to gain momentum. If she never takes the initiative to suggest a meeting or revive a conversation about plans, it signals a profound lack of investment. The absence of initiative speaks volumes. It tells you that while she may enjoy your company when you're physically present, the thought of you does not compel her to act. She is content to let you drive because the destination, a deeper connection, is not a priority for her. The emotional toll of this pattern is significant. It creates a state of suspended animation where hope and frustration intermingle. You may find yourself keeping your schedule open, hesitating to make other plans in case she finally confirms, effectively allowing her vagueness to dictate your time. This slowly erodes your sense of agency and self-worth. You begin to negotiate with yourself, making excuses for her. She's just busy. She's bad at planning. But the fundamental truth remains unchanged. When someone wants to see you, they create the time and provide the clarity to make it happen. A genuinely busy person who is interested will say, "I'm swamped this week, but I'm free next Tuesday." Does that work for you? This is a world apart from a non-committal "I'm busy." Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward reclaiming your power. The appropriate response is not to double down with more invitations or attempts to pin her down, which will only come across as needy and reinforce the dynamic. Instead, it is to gracefully disengage from the pursuit. After one or two vague responses, the ball is decisively in her court. Your energy is better invested in your own life and in connections with people who respond to your invitations with a clear and enthusiastic yes, or an equally engaged counteroffer. By refusing to settle for the ambiguity of the phantom date, you communicate your own standards and teach people how you expect to be treated. You deserve to be a priority, not a contingency plan. The quality of your conversations serves as a deep and revealing window into the level of genuine interest. In the early stages of a promising connection, dialogue is more than just an exchange of information. It is a dance of mutual discovery. There is a palpable sense of curiosity, a desire to peel back the layers and understand who the other person truly is beneath the surface. This is demonstrated through engaged questioning that goes beyond the superficial. She won't just ask what you do for a living, but what you love about it, or what you dream of doing. She'll remember a small detail you mentioned days ago, a stressful project, a visit from a family member, and ask for an update. This active listening and follow-up is the bedrock of emotional intimacy, signaling that your experiences and inner world matter to her. When interest is absent, conversations remain stranded in the shallow end. They are characterized by a persistent focus on safe, impersonal, and logistical topics. You may find yourselves repeatedly discussing the weather, generic current events, or the mundane details of your day without any emotional texture. The dialogue lacks forward momentum because it is not fueled by curiosity. You might share a personal story about a fear or an aspiration, only to receive a generic response like "that's cool" or "sounds tough," with no probing questions to delve deeper. The conversation becomes a series of statements rather than an interactive exploration. You are essentially talking at each other, not with each other, and the emotional energy in the exchange flatlines. This creates a profoundly unbalanced dynamic, where you've become the sole engine of the interaction. You are constantly generating topics, asking thoughtful questions, and trying to build bridges to deeper connection. In return, you receive short, passive answers that act as conversation deadends. It feels like pushing a boulder uphill. The moment you stop exerting effort, the interaction grinds to a halt. This one-sided effort is exhausting and demoralizing because it reveals a fundamental truth. She is not investing mental or emotional energy into knowing you. She is a passive participant, content to let the conversation flow around her without contributing the current needed to keep it moving forward. This lack of depth is one of the most telling signs that you are being held at arm's length. Surface-level talk is a defense mechanism, a way to maintain a pleasant but safe distance. It allows for a friendly acquaintance without the vulnerability and investment required for something more meaningful. While small talk is a normal social gateway, it should evolve. If, after several interactions, your conversations have failed to progress beyond this point, it is a strong indicator that she has no intention of letting them evolve. She is not sharing her own vulnerabilities, fears, or passions, and she is not seeking yours. A true connection thrives on depth and reciprocity. When you consistently encounter only a polished, superficial facade, it is a clear signal that the door to a deeper relationship is closed. Recognizing this allows you to stop pouring energy into a vessel that will never fill, and to seek out those who are eager to explore the depths with you. While words can be carefully chosen and intentions can be verbally obscured, the body has a language of its own that is far more difficult to fake. This silent dialogue of gestures, proximity, and unconscious reactions provides some of the most honest data about a person's level of attraction and comfort. In the early stages of a romantic connection, its physical dimension is where interest or the lack thereof becomes unmistakably clear. An individual who is genuinely drawn to you will subconsciously create opportunities for closeness. This isn't about grand gestures or inappropriate advances. It's about the subtle, almost imperceptible grammar of attraction that speaks volumes. When there is interest, you will observe a natural inclination to minimize physical distance. She might lean in during a conversation, especially in a noisy room, signaling that your words are important and she doesn't want to miss a thing. Her posture will be open and oriented toward you, with shoulders squared to yours and feet pointing in your direction, indicating full engagement. There is often a playful, almost accidental quality to touch. A light touch on the arm to emphasize a point. A brief brush of hands when passing an object, or accidentally bumping knees under a table. These micro-interactions are tests and affirmations of comfort, building a ladder of physical intimacy, one small rung at a time. Furthermore, her facial expressions will be animated and responsive, genuine laughter that reaches the eyes, sustained eye contact that feels warm and inviting rather than like a stare-down. This entire constellation of signals creates a palpable energy field of mutual attraction. In stark contrast, the lack of interest manifests as a series of deliberate and unconscious barriers. The most telling sign is a consistent maintenance of physical distance. She may position her bag on the seat between you, lean back in her chair when you lean forward, or take a small but definite step backward if you move slightly closer. This creates an invisible wall, a buffer zone, that you are not invited to cross. Her body language will often be closed. Arms may be crossed over her chest. She might hold a drink in front of her like a shield, or she might angle her body away, perhaps scanning the room instead of focusing on you. If an accidental touch does occur, her reaction is key. Instead of leaning into it or letting it linger for a moment, she will pull away quickly and noticeably, as if touching a hot stove. This recoil is a powerful nonverbal rejection. It is absolutely crucial to distinguish this from simple shyness or a reserved personality. A shy person who is interested may initially display some nervous or closed-off cues, but they will also show signs of engagement. They might steal glances when they think you aren't looking. Their body will still be oriented toward you. And if you create a safe and patient space, they will gradually warm up, and those barriers will begin to soften. The disinterested person, however, shows no such progression. The distance remains fixed, the posture stays closed, and there is no softening of the edges over time. The barrier is not a temporary one born of nerves. It is a permanent fixture. This physical disconnect is profoundly telling because it often mirrors the emotional one. The body instinctively protects itself from unwanted intimacy. When she maintains a rigid perimeter, she is communicating a boundary that her words might not. It is a declaration that she is not open to the type of closeness that defines a romantic connection. Paying attention to this silent language saves you from the confusion of mixed signals. You can hear enthusiastic words, but if the body is consistently saying "stay away," you must trust the more primal, honest communication. Respecting this space is non-negotiable, but recognizing its message is equally important. It tells you that the potential for physical and emotional intimacy is absent, confirming that the relationship is unlikely to move beyond a polite and ultimately frustrating stalemate. Of all the signals that a woman may not be romantically interested, the act of openly discussing other potential partners is perhaps the most direct and unambiguous. While the previous signs require interpretation of silence, vagueness, or body language, this one is delivered through clear verbal communication. It is a strategic and often quite conscious method of managing expectations and delineating the boundaries of the relationship. When a woman is genuinely interested in you, her focus narrows. She is investing time and emotional energy to explore the potential between you. And a key part of that process is presenting herself as available and receptive. Bringing up other men she is dating, has crushes on, or finds attractive runs directly counter to this goal. It introduces unnecessary complication and competition, something an interested person actively seeks to avoid. Therefore, when she casually mentions this guy I've been talking to, recounts a story about a date, or points out someone she finds attractive, she is engaging in a deliberate form of social signaling. This is rarely an accidental overshare, or a simple case of being just one of the girls. It is a calculated move designed to send a specific message. By placing this information into the conversational space between you, she is effectively creating a contextual framework for your relationship. She is telling you, in a way that allows for plausible deniability, my romantic attention is directed elsewhere. This is her way of being honest without having to endure the potential awkwardness of a direct rejection. She is showing you her cards, hoping you will understand the game is friendly, not romantic. This behavior serves several purposes for her. Primarily, it is a mechanism to keep you at a safe emotional distance. By framing you as a confidant or a friend to whom she can relay her dating adventures, she effectively neutralizes any romantic tension you might be fostering. It allows her to enjoy the benefits of your companionship and attention, the emotional support, the ego boosts, the enjoyable conversations, without the responsibility of reciprocating romantic feelings. You are being placed in a clearly defined box, one marked friend. This can be particularly confusing and painful, because the content of your interactions might otherwise feel close and intimate. But this recurring theme acts as a constant reminder of the boundary she has set for the man on the receiving end. The appropriate response is to take this information at face value. This is not a test, a game, or a ploy to make you jealous in a productive way. While the latter can sometimes occur within an established relationship in the early stages of getting to know someone, it is almost always a straightforward indicator of a lack of romantic interest. To ignore this signal to try to compete, to prove yourself better than the other men she mentions, or to dismiss it as irrelevant is to disrespect the boundary she is trying to establish. It demonstrates an inability to read social cues and can quickly veer into persistent and unwelcome pursuit. The most empowering and self-respecting action you can take is to accept this clarification for the gift that it is. She has saved you weeks or months of uncertainty and wasted effort. She has been direct enough for you to understand the situation without a painful confrontation. The correct response is to internally acknowledge the reality. Shift your own expectations to align with a platonic friendship. And, most importantly, to gracefully redirect your romantic energy. This means ceasing any flirtatious advances, stopping the pursuit of dates, and beginning to emotionally invest in other possibilities. When someone tells you, either explicitly or through these clear hints, that they are interested in other people, believe them. It frees you to focus your attention on someone who is not just interested but interested in you.